The Secrets of Dumbledore releases tomorrow here in the UK, so I thought it best to go back and revisit the crimes of Grindelwald. After the events of the first film, Newt Scamander is back in London, and his former teacher, Albus Dumbledore, requests that he goes to Paris and thwarts Grindelwald's plans of gathering an army of pure-blood wizards to conquer all non-magical beings. But before I probably start with my review for The Crimes of Grindelwald, I want you to let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. It's a 2018 movie, so feel free to talk spoilers in there, as I will in this review. Let me know your thoughts on the original Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, to which I have a review right up here if you want to check it out. And as of the time of this recording, I have seen The Secrets of Dumbledore, and my spoiler-free review for that is also right now up on the channel, so I have to conclude the trilogy review with this one. And if you love movies and TV, this is the place to be, so consider clicking that subscribe button so you don't miss any future conversation on your favorite movies and TV. And all the way back in 2018, I was rather excited to check this movie out. I had really enjoyed the original Fantastic Beasts. The trailers for this were very good. I really enjoyed the darkness that the trailers for this film exhibited. The previous film had ended in a very promising place, as it opened the doors for us to continue to explore the essentially Wizarding World Pokemon adventure with Newt Scamander, and also diving deep into the relationship of Grindelwald and Dumbledore. So going into this, I was rather excited, and I had grown up with the Harry Potter movies, so I was all into this franchise. Nevertheless, one of the things that I was nervous about was Johnny Depp. I really loved Colin Farrell in that first movie, and I do consider Colin Farrell a superior actor in general, so the ending of the first film left me with a bit of uncertainty. Lo and behold, Johnny Depp is probably my favorite aspect of this film. He's playing not one of the quirky caricature characters that he had throughout the past decade before this film, but he's playing charismatic cult leader with a strong moral belief that you find extremely compelling. It's not something that you agree with, it's something that is very wrong, but his eeriness, his synastry comes across on the screen through his performance, through seeing him talking with other characters, the people who join his cult. It's very easy to see why he is this imposing presence, why he is a leader that others believe in, and he does a ton of sinistry things throughout the film, even going to that house and having that baby killed, showing no emotion or remorse. Parallel to that, I also really love Jude Law as young Dumbledore. I was, again, afraid going into this film that I wasn't sure we needed to explore more of Dumbledore, but he's fantastic in this. He continues to be the Dumbledore we know and love, where he continues to be this very secretive person. He asks you to do something, but he never tells you why it should be you, why you have to do that. But he's also the guy who is always going to be there when you actually need him, and he plays this role very delicately. He's very friendly, he's very welcoming. There's a warm feeling whenever he is on screen talking Newt through what he needs to do. And so Grindelwald is after Credence, who we find out is alive for some reason in this film, but we'll get to that in a bit. And so Dumbledore sends Newt after Credence, because Newt is the one who tried to help the boy in the original film. So the two are very good parallels of one another. They are two very good sides of the same coin. And so even though this film doesn't dive deep into the relationship, yet it puts them in this very good position where they are extremely good foils to one another, and you do get a sense of what one means to the other when it comes to Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Also, it's obviously an amazing production, so whenever we do get the beasts with Newt's side of the story, it's really fun. It's exactly what you want when it comes to the premise that is this guy trying to find and capture and rescue magical creatures throughout all of Paris. Another thing that I really like in this film is whenever we get to go back to Hogwarts, whether it's in the 1927, the present timeline, or there's a ton of flashbacks in here, which again, we'll get to in a bit. Going to Hogwarts in this film feels like the necessary levity apart from the darkness. This is a very serious movie. This is a dark film that explores some really dark, intense themes where essentially we're trying to stop Magic Hitler. And at one point we even have the story of a baby who was killed in a shipwreck. There's a ton of darkness to have in this film. So when we go back to Hogwarts, it feels like we're being welcomed home. Particularly for us who grew up with those Harry Potter films, whenever we get to go back to Hogwarts in this, it's so great. It puts a smile on your face, not only going back there, seeing Newt as a young student with Leta Lestrange, seeing their relationship as friends going up, seeing Dumbledore teaching students, seeing that the Ministry of Magic was even back then suspicious of Dumbledore as he secretly operated outside of the law, given that Newt was barred from international travel, given the events of the first film. So whenever we go back to Hogwarts, I feel like this film does such a great job at capturing what is exactly so magical about Hogwarts, because the rest of the film is just very dark and we're set apart from everything you know, because yet again we go to a brand new location. All that said, this is easily and sadly my least favorite film in the entire Wizarding World franchise, if you want to gather the Harry Potter movies with the Fantastic Beasts movies. Mostly because it doesn't feel like anything happens. It's a story that never feels for a second like it's moving forward. It mostly feels like it's padding out time, introducing these other new characters that eventually also feel like they don't add anything new to the story, where the characters that we knew end up in the exact same place, barely coming across like they had any growth throughout this. This, in essence, feels like a filler movie. We could have either started the franchise here, or we didn't need this movie at all. We could have used 10 minutes to stretch out the original film, and having seen The Secrets of Dumbledore, you can even put 10 minutes of this film into that one, and it feels completely organic. From Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them to Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore. This film just feels uneventful and unnecessary. Where it doesn't really explore the crimes of Grindelwald, all this film does with Grindelwald is seeing him gathering this army. He is essentially talking to people about eventually committing some crimes. And he has committed some crimes before even the first Fantastic Beasts movie, and that's why he's in jail at the beginning of this film. And you have a really cool action escape sequence with a flying carriage over the Atlantic Ocean and whatnot. That's great. But then throughout this film, it's just him talking to a bunch of people and showing how evil he is, but he doesn't really commit any crimes. Also, the way the story is told really shows you that it was a book writer that wrote this film. J.K. Rowling is a brilliant storyteller. She wrote billions worth of stories in the Harry Potter books. She expanded upon it with the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them book that she wrote, even though it's supposedly written in universe by Newt Scamander and all that. She has done a brilliant job bringing a series of fantasy books to life. But writing a film is a very different thing. And a lot of the problems in this film is that it feels like it's a book compressed into a movie without any translation, without any of the techniques and disciplines of what it is to write a screenplay, to write a film. And one of the elements that shows that is that the lead characters coming back together in this adventure doesn't make a whole ton of sense. I love Newt Scamander and Jacob. I think they're a fantastic duo. But it doesn't really add up that Jacob is brought into this adventure. It just feels like he has to be there because he was there in the original film and he's part of the group now. Also, I really don't like how they immediately undo with Jacob and Queenie the ending of the original film, where now Queenie is even hypnotizing Jacob so he will marry her. Queenie is such a treasure in that original film, and I feel this film makes her completely antagonistic, where there's a good concept in there about exploring how complicated this relationship is because she can't get married to him and he wants to protect her, but the way the film goes about it to where eventually it ends with her joining Grindelwald, and I don't know about you, but I see a lot of complications in how you thematically connect this storyline to a real-life storyline where Queenie is Jewish and she is essentially joining Magic Hitler. There's just a lot of bad optics on that. And so I really don't like how they deal with Jacob and Queenie in this. And again, it doesn't make a ton of sense how Jacob and Newt and Tina eventually all come into this together. It just feels very, very random. And because it has to happen, it happens. Another thing that feels random and completely undoes the ending of the previous film is that Credence was totally dead by the end of the original Fantastic Beasts. And suddenly, in an early conversation in this film where Newt is requesting that they allow him to travel internationally, he's just mentioned to be alive. And if they were to reveal that, it could have worked, but the fact that they just throw it out in this random line that feels insignificant just catches you off guard completely. And so you have Credence trying to find where he comes from, trying to find his mother, while Grindelwald is trying to find him out so he can recruit him because of something we will get to in a bit. Also, this film introduces a ton of brand new characters while trying to deepen what we already know about the characters that we already know from the first film. It introduces, obviously, we explore Grindelwald, we meet this new version of Dumbledore, we meet Yusuf Kama, Leta Lestrange, Theseus Scamander, so many other people, even Nicholas Flamel is in this film, and everyone has a backstory, everyone has these interpersonal relationships and connections that we have to keep up with everything, and it just feels so busy and so convoluted and so unnecessary by the end, where you see where some of these characters end up. Leta Lestrange, Zoe freaking Kravitz is just in this film to die, and it doesn't feel like there's any weight to it. The worst part, speaking of Leta Lestrange and Yusuf Kama, is where this film literally stops at one point where all the characters are gathered before the third act, where nothing really happens, but we'll get to that. And you have a character in Yusuf Kama telling the story of the brother he lost or the mother he lost because of Ezra Miller's existence, supposedly, and you have this big exposition dump for like 5 minutes, only to get to the end of it, and Zoe Kravitz's Leta Lestrange corrects him in saying, actually, that wasn't what happened, and we go on this other exposition dump to talk about what actually happened, and by the end of these two massive exposition dumps that just stop the movie dead on its tracks, we take this long walk for this short drink of water where nothing is resolved. No new information comes to light about who this kid is, even though he's the main kind of MacGuffin of the film. And so it's a complete waste of time. And it's the scene that perfectly paints the picture of what this film is. Where after this is just seeing more of Johnny Depp talking, where he's very captivating, he's very charismatic, and people go along with him. And then we have this fire dragon that our characters just escape and survive. And so it feels like it's a 2-hour and 10-minute or 15-minute movie where it's basically Grindelwald talking to people about joining him, and they join him. And that's it. And not much else happens of value, of importance. Nothing really changes the status quo from beginning to end of the film, apart from the very end of the film, where it's revealed that Credence is actually a Dumbledore. Aurelius Dumbledore, brother of Aberforth and Ariana and Albus. And having seen The Secrets of Dumbledore, it's not that bad anymore, I feel, but it's still such a dumbfounded idea to even go with this reveal at the end of your film, where it doesn't really make sense with the story of the Dumbledores, with the family history and all that. And even I know that. And I'm the guy who loves the movies, but that's it. I never read the books, I never explored anything beyond the movies. I love those movies, and that's it. And even I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And The Crimes of Grindelwald essentially comes across as that. A film that doesn't add anything to the franchise, doesn't give you any proper answers. It only raises a ton of logical questions, including how does this film fit into the franchise? Why does it exist? And it's a film that doesn't justify its own existence. It's a story so simple in concept. Dumbledore sending Newt to find Credence before Grindelwald finds him. But in execution, there's all these other elements that are so unnecessary that add nothing of value to the proper narrative and the themes that it is exploring. It's a perfect showcase of how less is more, and the film overcomplicates everything by adding these other parts of the film, these other characters, all with their rich backstories that the film takes time to explore, but we come out of the other side having learned nothing of value that changes our perspective or the character's perspective on the story, on what is actually going on. It doesn't change or affect their view of the world, their decision-making process, nothing of it. Sure, there are fun action sequences here and there with the creatures, but they still have the same problem that they have in the previous film, where the creature side of the story, it's fun, it's fine, it's quirky, but it is not adding anything to the proper big scoping narrative of Grindelwald and Dumbledore's story. And those two opposing forces that are the heart of the conflict of this film, of the entire franchise, still feel too much like they're just on the sides looking on. Grindelwald, at least in this one, feels like he's more active. He's more proactive in trying to do something, trying to accomplish something. But even what he accomplishes in this film feels very much like it's the very premise. So the film doesn't stretch anything beyond the premise, and nothing really of value happens. Not to us, the audience, witnessing this film happening, not to the characters experiencing these events. And it's extremely frustrating. The Crimes of Grindelwald momentarily recaptures the magic that is being back at Hogwarts, while also understanding what makes these characters so great, positioning Dumbledore and Grindelwald as these two great forces, one for good, one for evil. Unfortunately, as the story goes, it creates for a convoluted mess that adds nothing to what came before and doesn't feel like it's building to what comes after. It's a film that is way too overlong, way too overstuffed, and unfortunately, there's nothing too magical about it as a whole. I'm giving The Crimes of Grindelwald a C-. And those are my thoughts on The Crimes of Grindelwald, so I want to know what you thought about it in the comments below, anything and everything down there. And remember that I have a review for the first Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find a Movie. You can also check that out right now on the channel. And my review for The Secrets of Dumbledore is also up, spoiler free on that one, so make sure you click right up here if you want to check that out, and I'll be back very soon with my ranking for all the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts movie, and there's also a Moon Knight review right now up on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my channel members Bruna and Stuart for making this video possible, and so until the next one, love each other and love the movies.